Hello, everyone, and welcome to Booming Encore's Learning Bites. My name is Susan Williams, and I'm the founder of Booming Encore. The COVID-19 crisis is something that never had we experienced before, and it's causing a lot of people a great deal of stress and anxiety. Today, I'm actually joined by Dr. Sean Hayes. Dr. Hayes is a clinical psychologist and co-founder of Cohesio, and today we'll be discussing the pandemic situation and how best to manage our stress during this challenging time. Welcome, Dr. Hayes.
Thank you. Well, my pleasure to be here.
Well, great to have you. Well, first of all, like as I stated earlier, many people are feeling extremely stressed and anxious as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. Why is this situation so different, and what can people do to actually help reduce their stress and anxiety?
Well, I think the reason it's so different is probably what most of us recognize is it's, I believe, the first time for probably the vast majority we've ever experienced what's called a collective trauma. So it is a shared catastrophic event that undermines all of the normal structures and functions of society. That's how that's defined. The closest we might have seen to that is 9/11, but that wasn't global or an instance like that. So this is where not only is there something that everybody is hit by, but it also takes away what normally gives us a sense of control and safety in our society. We have lost structure, rigidity, routine, patterns. Our institutions that we depend on, including for something as important as health, our health, are at risk right now because they're at risk of being overwhelmed. So all the things that give all of us a sense of united protection, safety, and a trust that will be taken care of have been undermined at once. The second key aspect to all of this is unlike some other collective traumas, there's no insight to this one. There's no clear sense of how long or how deep or how impactful this experience will be. So with other events, there's usually some kind of deadline. There's some kind of sense this is over now we're recuperating, or now we're getting back. None of us have that feeling. And one of the things that we know about humans and research in social sciences has shown that we actually deal very poorly with uncertainty. It's called the tyranny of uncertainty. Knowing something's coming, but we know it's bad, we can plan for that. Not knowing what's coming and having no idea what to do is worse for us in terms of an emotional response.
And it sort of almost goes towards our basic needs then, doesn't it? And that sort of insecurity around that. So does this also then help explain why we're seeing, people hoarding or that panic shopping, or, even though we're being told, please don't do this, and please, for the sake of others and all of this, but you still see that behavior?
Yeah, I think you hit it right on the correct point there. It's to do with a very basic level of the rest of the normal societal functions. I'm not sure right now. I can't trust them. I need to go into sort of a very almost primal level of self and family protection. You think of Maslow's levels of actualization. This is right down to the basic. Am I going to have enough food and safety and culture and, a home and something to protect myself? So yeah, I think most of us feel driven to kind of, in a panic mode, get ourselves to prepare almost for war. I mean, I'm being a bit over dramatic there, but prepare and get everything ready, and because we kind of have to isolate, and we can't count on the institutions. Many of us don't feel we can count on the institutions that should be there to protect us.
Yeah, it's normally in times like this, what we want to do most is be with the people that we care about the most for support, and actually spending time with them and helping each other. But in this particular case, we're actually being told to distance ourselves. Is there any suggestions you have on how we best manage that?
Yeah, so there's a couple of clear things that are, I think, finding this particular experience of trauma even fundamentally more difficult than other collective traumas we've seen, as you just said. So one is this, it's taking away that very primal level of control. I mean, literally toilet paper. When you think about it, that's control. That goes right down to toddler training over control issues. It's very primal. Freud would have loved this. But it's also taken away all of our usual healthy go-to responses. Most of us as adults are well aware if we're stressed, what do? We stick to routine. We make sure we engage socially with our friends or particularly our colleagues. So the water cooler
Mhm.
conversation can be a huge part of our routine of support. It may not seem always emotionally deep, but it is part of where we're getting input. Um, we go out to drink, we go to a movie, all of the things that normally are extremely important for you. Then you compound that, now we can't even engage with family. So for people with young children, they've lost the support of grandparents, they've lost the support of the babysitters, so they're kind of, just 2 weeks from now, I think every person with young kids in their house, that we've lost the village. For all of us who live in the village, we've lost that. So all of those go-to appropriate, healthy responses that we would otherwise implement are not available to us. Given that, what can we do? Ironically, and I'm not sure I would have said this a couple of years ago, I think the power of social media to connect with our friends and family is being used in ways I never thought possible. So we're seeing grandparents really get used to FaceTime now, and they're FaceTime and playing games and doing things that in a way are kind of better than they were before. There's more time together playing games, doing things that are interactive because everybody's making that emphasis, even if it's virtual.
Mhm.
We have our first virtual dinner party coming up this weekend. We've mapped out the menu, and we're going to have people from around the world, and everybody's going to be seated at the table. We're going to do a few of those. So I think that this is where social media, or even just basic technology like this, is going to be a huge support to get us through. I also think what's really striking out of this kind of trauma is you sometimes see the real best in human being in these situations. And I think what the support of even those you never expected, I'm sure you've seen this, Sue, the caremongering movement
Mhm.
that's emerged.
Yes.
7,000 groups around Canada now are going to speak to elderly people through their windows. You see them playing cards. And so I think we're finding other ways to connect, to tell each other that we're there, that we understand. I think also to pay a little more attention to each other, even if it's from 6 feet apart. Are you okay? Do you need anything? Can I bring you anything? And I think that added energy, I hope we can keep it going. I think we can, will be a replacement for our old methods of social interaction.
Some great suggestions. Now, just on the social media front, though, I mean, social media can be used, as we often say, for good, but it can also be not necessarily something that is so good if you get too obsessed with watching what's going on. Is that not true?
Yeah, so when I say social media, I'm saying social media as a means to interact with your friends and family, as a means to play games with them online. Because you're absolutely right. The social media where you're scrolling through things that really aren't people. I mean, at this point, I think you should probably withdraw from the remote games where you're not connected with anybody at all. You need to increase the use of it, what is used to connection. I think the other danger, we all know this, seen this over the last few years, is we have to be very careful of the news stories and the blogs because it's so quick to react and to panic because we read something, but we don't check its source. We don't see how new it is. And even our so-called leaders are making mistakes because it is moving so quickly. So I almost sort of want to say to most people, look, for the most part, do a check-in. Do a check-in with a resource that you trust and you validated. And that's it for your day. Knowing that it's gone up another 400 numbers will not help you get through your day. Now go back to what you need to do for your family, for yourself, planning your days, looking. The other thing that, just as a side note, what I also think about when I say social media, you're quite right. So it's not to use this to get away from people. It's to use this to do things with people you know.
I think also just taking the time to just stop and think for a bit and be okay with that. I think we're just sometimes just so overscheduled that we don't know what to do, and that's even causing some panic in ourselves just because we're not sure how to fill our days.
I just wrap up. I heard a wonderful comment from a 16-year-old the other day. Now, Sue, I think you've experienced teenagers, so you know. And she turned because she was walking. She went for a walk with her mother, which they haven't done in 10 years. And she turned and said to her mother, I'm actually enjoying this. I'm finding I have time to think.
Yes. I know,
And
time to think.
time to
That
think.
is certainly something that many of us are currently blessed with. Well, thank you so much for your time,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Lucy. Really appreciate it. And for everyone out there, I hope you found this information valuable and it helps you better cope with the situation that we find ourselves in, and try and stay positive. So bye for now, everyone.
Take care. Bye bye. Thank you.